Tawazani, it is Friday, it is 4 p.m. and we all know that 4 p.m. is consciousness time. It is time where we actually have to awaken to the truth of who we are as Africans. It's become a date for most of us, a date we cannot afford to miss because we understand that it is important for us to be mentally liberated. Because the mind that is enslaved is a mind that will always believe what its master tells it. And one of the incremental things we've been covering, series of conversation, and of course, last week I said that we are going to be having this conversation like this. I'm going to have the honorable, yes guys, have you seen when you have a crush? And when you have you've got your celebrity person, like I came in, I was like, whoa, oh my God. So I know what it feels like when people go like, my God, Gogo. So I was like, oh. Because Mkhulu, over the past few weeks, me and him have developed a very strong relationship. And I feel like he's an elder, you know, and because I think we don't understand the role of elders because these are people we go to for information. And of course, Mkhulu looks no way good a home, up to date. So, but it shows why we as Africans did what we did because we understood that our elders are walking libraries. And for the past 4 weeks, Mkhulu has been a deep, an encyclopedia for Africans like us who are wanting to feed from your well, Mkhulu. It's an honor being in your space. Look at the beauty. I think even before we get into the conversation, Mkhulu, of what we're going to be talking about, we cannot ignore the story that's behind, the story that is of this world. Please tell us, Kuti, what is this art?
Which is Oset, which is Asa. Manjege, you know, in the same power, we've got to live it.
Yes.
The life there, you know, like it must be the culture of choice.
Yes.
Everything that you do, everything that you say has to reflect your belief system. So in Ako, even the walls of the house, we have paintings because these are the first ancestors on earth. Before anything was created on earth, these are the first principles. When you talk about the universal womb, this is the universal womb. It's represented by Mkhulu as the first spirit or principle that then created all the Indlovukazi. They are from Isbeleto, the spiritual womb kaNomkhulu. Nangu umveli nqangi uyeke oyinkosi. Umuntu wama magic, even I'll make an example ukuthwasa kwami. Ngapha kabo mama yibo abantu bemilingo ama magic.
Yes,
ngapha kabo baba amakhosi nje lapha kabo baba ngoba bayalandela bakhipha nje inqumo imithetho ukuthi cha indlunkulu indlovukazi ithi kumele kube nje kepha abantu bama magic iside lo mama
nizwile guys ne
so mawuphahla ufuna izinto zenzakale we experience lama magic ngesikhemu sithi hacker so kumele uphahle ngapha komama ngoba ibona abantu abagijimayo kakhulu amakhehla asuka kulo umqombothi bese ke bayalibala ke bayalala manje omama yibo ke ba active. So to bring in that balance of the male and female even nasekhaya ingakho ngithi it must be a culture of choice. Ungayikhulumi nje lento kumele uyenze.
And it's a physical embodiment, because it's something to know something it's something to think it, but to live it, it's at another level. Because once we embody it, it becomes a way of life. Guys, we are trying all of this out, so I'm also feeling like I'm having a bit of an edginess because I'm used to being like this on the camera, looking at comments, looking at stuff. I know that get people are tuning in. Just make sure, and we've got people, the team here. If you're not hearing us, you might not be seeing us closer, but if you're not hearing us, just let us know, because they can give us signs in the background that no, your volume has went down or anything. But I know that I'm audible enough, and Mkhulu is audible enough. But this is amazing, and you could even see, because we always know that the masculine is the protector, right? And the feminine is the natural. And you can see Guti Unomkhulu is holding something as a symbol of Guti is a natural. So it's interesting how our stories are also an embodiment of the roles that the two entities, our two original ancestors play, Umbelingani and Unomkhulu. And it makes sense when Sikulega Mkhulu, Nomang Tandaza, I always say Father, Mother, God. Father, Mother, God. For those of us who don't speak any languages, well, understand. I'm inviting those energies, but Mudimu on its own, saying Mudimu just speaks to energy. It's about energy, right? So the topic of today, it's something that you've also asked for, guys. To say, Mkhulu, tell us about the African calendar, because we keep on hearing about African calendar as the original calendar. We keep on hearing of the Georgian calendar as the calendar. It's actually the universal calendar that all people in the world operate by. But we also know that Chinese work with their own system. That's why they can celebrate their Chinese New Year. We also understand that some religious sects, like is the Islamic faith, they practice their New Year's. The Hindi faith practice that, but we're the only people who don't actually, I don't remember much Happy African New Year when I walk into a retail store. But I've seen Ramadan, I've seen Diwali being celebrated. Like there would also even be special foods in Mkhulu and special things that are done in the country to make us aware, even though we are not of that culture. But if we live in a country that says, constitutionally, we are supposed to be equal. But it clearly shows that we really are not, because Meskulma about our things, because I understand in Kuluguti, our calendar was also one of the principles that created the calendar, was it in honor of special occasions. Because honor is our way of being. When we were able to honor and revere the spirit, and we understand that each season speaks to spirit and what spirit is trying to do, we are then aligned. Yeah, but so if you can define for us, this, I'm speaking from what I've learned, expand on that. This is the African calendar versus the Georgian calendar that tells us that New Year is in January. We understand that, but it doesn't make sense, because Tina, New Year, it means newness. It means a rebirth, and we understand things rebirth in the continent in September.
No, certainly. No, Gogo, the unfortunate thing is that one of the fundamental pillars in building a nation is a calendar. You need to define time according to where you are in the universe. A reflection of what is going on in the minds of our leaders. I will be bothered as a leader ukuthi ngilokho ngikhapha abantu, especially abantu bokufika, people who came to this land, in everything they do, that is not justice. You know what? And not only ukubakapa, but I fund most of their events. I'll make an example. Easter. Easter, it's a spring festival for the northern hemisphere. We are in the southern hemisphere. When it's spring in the northern hemisphere, it's autumn this side. We're not supposed to partake in those festivities. But if we still operate with this colonize their mindset, you won't be able to actually change such things. Because yonke lento le izenale structure sabelungu. The political as well as the economic system that we live under. It's not our governing system. Yingakho kunje. So lento ye calendar wena Gogo is very important. If you look at the picture, that picture, kaNomkhubulwane. uNomkhubulwane reflects the sun. Doesn't generate the energy. But uNomkhubulwane reflects the energy of the sun. Yingakho lapha behind, the image, it's a representative of the sun. It is what inyanga does. When you talk about, the first crescent of the moon, that is the beginning after the new moon, until the full moon. When you say it's full moon, it means the sun is reflecting fully kule disk of the moon. So that is the mating, divine mating between uMvelingani and uNomkhubulwane during full moon. So coming back to the question calendar, unyaka wethu begins in September, on the 23rd of September. What then happens is that the sun leaves the northern hemisphere. It leaves the northern hemisphere on the 21st. So that transition within the imaginary line of the equator, it takes 3 days. So the departure from the northern hemisphere happens on the 21st. By the 23rd, the sun makes 1 degree southwards, meaning the southern hemisphere begins a new cycle again. We call the African New Year because that is also informed about how we as Africans called in our own particular languages, called the month of September. NgesiZulu Mandulo, which then means we're going back to the point where we started the previous year. It begins a new cycle again. You talk about, the Shangan people, but in Zati, Lwezi, Nesotho, Naneswan, they all, are talking about a beginning of a cycle. So, what happens in September is that Ilanga, from its journey to the north, now it's coming closer, right? That is why that month ibizwa umandulo kepha ngokwesikemu sithi inyanga kaAsa uMvelingani, the first principle of creation here on earth. Why? Because everything starts greening. That is why Asa is called the green god when it comes to September. In autumn, Asa hibernates. Like now, Asa, we are in April. April or May?
We're in May.
We are in May. It's during the hibernation period, Asa until June on the 21st. When the sun now makes a U-turn, it starts again the journey of coming to the southern hemisphere. That period is confirmed by the spring equinox, which falls on the 23rd of September. So the nurturing energy and spirit of the sun now starts nurturing everything that is on earth, right? So it begins the year. That is why uzothola ukuthi yonke into starts greening. Right? But ukuhlakula, sekuhlakula nini? Ngo-August. Guidwa yini? Isilimela. Those are 7 stars. You know, they give us a guide. So Abesuthu bathi bona, that is the beginning of the year, because bona they follow a 13-month, you know, calendar, which is the calendar of the moon. Most of the people follow, you know, the solar calendar. But people mustn't be confused. The moon doesn't generate the energy. It reflects the energy of the sun. So meaning, Guti, according to our culture, she uses both. The moon cycle she uses especially for our rituals, I said Kosini. You know, every ritual, I said Kosini, is guided by the moon. Like what happens in Swaziland during Umhlanga. Umhlanga is guided by the moon. You know, Laba Bamanti, Swaziland, they go to as far as Mozambique by your commands. They are guided by the moon, which maybe buya, inyanga mele ibe ila. So that is guided by that. Ngapha ke kaya, you know, KwaZulu silahlileke lolo siko because the date that we use for Umhlanga, it's no longer guided by the moon. So that is why uzothola ukuthi alignment ayibi khona the way kumele ibe ngakhona, because these are rituals asebukhosini okumele zilandele bani unomkhubulwane.
And Mkhulu, this is enriching because I'm sitting here and I'm trying to reflect at certain things. I'm trying to reflect at South Africa and what we experience every time around August, right? And towards September. For the past couple of years, if you've seen something, there's a discourse that happens to us. Last year, there was xenophobia. And I think also a year before there was something. There's always a discourse because I'm feeling, or let me not say I'm feeling, but I'm thinking and I'm noticing Guti, Abapanzi, those who are supposed to be our spirit guides, are trying to tell us something, because also in the beginning of the year we make offerings, right? We give thanks to Abapanzi, to Unomkhulu Ntsigiza for the new year, to say we've actually siyabonga, right? And I also understand that as Africans, every new year we say hlambulule ekhaya, because to hlambulula it means to rejuvenate, to replenish, to cleanse, so that as you enter the next phase of your year, you are renewed, you are born again. And that's why for me, I feel like there's always around that time, there's a discourse that happens with us. There's something that happens. Could that also mean, Guti, because we have lost track of our rituals that accompany every month? Because rituals are food to the soul. I always say this. And when we feed the soul, we make things align. And if things don't align, somewhere nature will actually help itself to align. That's why because
Sure.
You know, so it's that's one. But number two, I want us, we might not get to everything today, guys, because it's only an hour. We might get to half the year, but if you know Mkhulu Uti, even if it's per quarter, between starting a new year, September till December, that's a quarter. What are the rituals we do to usher ourselves in the new year? And what can we do in our respective homes? Because like I'm saying, that's a time for you to cleanse. That's a time, that's about spring cleaning. See, in simple, lame terms of us, we spring clean in September. I grew up every September, Kaisa spring cleaner. Sure. The old must die, then you have to make room for the new.
Remember, Guti, August ends a cycle. And that is confirmed by Idas Tebakon. Kuba khona ivungvungu that cleans. So that when we start a new cycle, everything is clean. This is what has to happen. Actually, by default, we might not be aware of it. You know, like during September, from August, September, look at your skin. We are color now, we are born with you know, you're shedding off some skin. Why? Because kunaleo energy is there. Whether we are conscious or not, your body is being renewed. inking about your consciousness, it's not there. You know, because when I was jailed with January.
Yes, it happens to me, Mkhulu, every summer. It's in a kite. Most of us, like I have well, you can't see it, but there's a mark here. Yeah, but I know the skin of me, it shreds. But you are luma, right? Because and I'm thinking, I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking colonial, I'm thinking, it's just an allergy, or what we call hay fever in summer, because a lot of people experience hay fever, a lot of people experience certain things in summer. So start to take note, guys. Like some things are not just biomedical, some things are spiritual, some things are natural, because nature has to take its course.
And you know, a lot of us who are, you know, drawing more on the metaphysical, then abelungu bathi thina siyahlanya, you know, ngoba sibona izinto abangaziboni. So when you enter that realm, abantu la emhlabeni bathi uyahlanya, kanti wena, so isikhathi sokuvuseleleka labantu ukuthiwa bayahlanya September, you know, iyaqala lento natural, uzobona nje ingakho, you know, egodlweni nasemaphehlweni isikhathi sembeza ngoba kumele sibhunyisele labantu, you know, to balance the chemicals.
What is imbeza, Mkhulu?
Imbeza umuthi.
I'm also learning. What is imbeza?
Imbeza wena gogo umuthi oncedisayo labantu okuthiwa.
Sorry, the battery is low on the other phone.
Which phone? Oh,
yes, guys, we dual streaming, so we're doing this on my page on Instagram, and we are going to, Mkhulu is doing it on GEC, because GEC is also on Facebook. And both these videos will be uploaded on our pages so that you can make reference, you can tag friends later on, because we need to be able to send and spread these messages. We are beginning to rewrite. Tawazani, it is Friday, it is 4 p.m. and we all know that 4 p.m. is consciousness time. And and motse gape motho o leng molo ya ga rape fela ka o motho wa o dia di-papeterization rapa ka motho wa o re a senya ke dilo tse di tswelela pele mara go ne taba gape tse di swantse gore re bolele ka polelo tsa go rena gore re botse gore le bo bagekolo le bakgala ba mo ba etetseng gone ba gone go rekwa gore mo koko le borapa or batho ba buile gore re terapa ditaba tšeo we Mkhulu Nkwebo o re to kwa botse wa nkwa ke apa ke reng
ke a ukwa.
Oh, how I love it when people want to speak another language and ke a ukwa. It's an important, so ke apa ke kapa kilobedu ki mixele sepedi ka kilobedu Beaje ke retha ke retha I say wa embese ngithi baba ubhenga ungcoloso songololo dlabazana ungwane omuhle ngabe sakudla sisaba nomlelelene African. You know, when people ask me, last week somebody asked me and said to me, so Gogo, what heritage are you? And I said, I'm African. And no matter, I mean colonial, I don't subscribe. You know? And I said, I am African, then I have multiple expressions of my Africanness. And the reason I say that, and for me personally, as Gogo Dineo, it has taught me to learn other languages. it has pushed me to learn, because I grew up, of course, wanting to learn English, and I'm grateful that I can speak English so well, even. But now I'm wanting to learn as much of South Africa's languages, which I know that it then goes and flows into Southern Africa. Because I understand Nkhuluma Swati, ndokhona ukuthi bese ngifuka leSwatini ngisikhuluma. Yabo? And then zothi when I go Setswana ke fihla ko Botswana ke tla se bua sentle Setswana, Sesotho ke fihle ke bua Sesotho. Because sometimes when we meet people at their level, then we can actually learn so much from them, but we can actually create the systems that we want to create. So it's an invitation to anyone who's listening, who only knows their mother tongue, who only knows English, to say, try learn another language. I want to learn Portuguese because I'm in Mozambique quite a lot, and I understand with Shangana I speak, that South Africa is also mixed with colonial English, and Mozambicans were colonized by the Portuguese, so they speak Portuguese. So I want to learn Portuguese because I want to be able to converse. I want to learn then I can learn other things as well. I can learn. I think one of the languages on my list is Swahili. I would love to learn Swahili.
Because I would also recommend Mkhulu Ntsigiza. Mkhulu Ntsigiza is our oldest classical language. All the information, ulwazi, that is written by our ancestors, is written in that language. The sign language, the language yabatwa. That is Mkhulu Ntsigiza. It combines all other African languages. They all trace their roots back to Mkhulu Ntsigiza. So, that should be prioritized. And succeed in terms of decolonizing our minds. We have to learn that language, especially abantwana from creche.
Yes, and I've heard some people say it's Meduneta. Like, let's not get caught up in semantics. Let's understand what's that language. Because also we pronounce things very differently.
No, good job.
And maybe another topic we'll have is the power of language.
Oh no, certainly. Certainly.
And how that is actually could be a powerful tool that can enable.
Oh no, certainly.
Yes.
The language captures, that resonance, which you need between heaven and earth. So that is why our ancestors would then, Nati, you can't pray in English. Mengipahla mina ngikwazi ukuphahla ngesiLungu. Into engivusela ugqozi. Isikithi mengikhuluma lesizulu. Isingwane lesi. Then umoya kukhona into eshukumayo.
Mina ngishukumisa every African language. Guys, uke washelwa ngesintu. Roses are red and violets are blue. Don't do anything. Mudati, yazi ntombi nje mengibuka nje ngibona isiphalaphala. You don't ask bank account balances. You don't see looks, because language speaks to the spirit, and that's what it does for me. I don't know what it does for you, but that's a topic for another day. I was just trying to get people enrolled. We apologize, we went offline abruptly, but the first video is uploaded. I'm glad that things can upload to Instagram TV immediately, so it's there. If you missed us the first half, it's there. We began speaking about what is the African calendar, and we want to get to the second part of the African calendar. We want to speak about Mkhulu, those cycles, which month belongs to who, and the rituals we need to pay attention to, because we ended up with September, and we understood to September it's time of the New Year, spring cleaning, and all of those things. So let's go, Mkhulu, to those months.
Okay, September renewal. The principle Asa, the green god. Then October het. Remember ukuthi siyatshala ngo September, ngo October ngesikhathi sika umvundisikazi uHether, the house of Hero, uvundisa everything that has been planted. So kuyaqala kuyaqhuma, right? Then bese ke siza the third month. The first month which is the month of Asa. The second month of the African year, October, which is the month of Heter. Right? Then the third month, inyanga Jehuti. Ujehuti ke yena ke ufaka manje imbande. Extends imbande, or the plant extends imbande to, right deep in the soil. And also spiritually, Ujehuti uye that reveals if kune imfihlo, isikhathi la imfihlo khona zerivealeka khona. The third month of the year. Then the fourth month, which is inyanga kaNebtet, umongikazi. The fourth month, yonake, it represents maturity. Meaning lokhu besikutshalile sokukhulile. Right? Akukabi ready ukuthi kuvune kepha kukhulile. That is December. Ngesizulu sithi uzibandlela. That represents that maturity. Right? Then uJanuary lo sithi umasingana. Inyanga kaHeru. Inyanga yamakhosi. Inyanga yesikhathi ukuthi amakhosi kulaqala khona umsebenzi wabo. Because the energy that supports, umoya wobukhosi, it's in January. Umasingana uyasinga shokuthi ubuke manje emasimini ukuthi izitshalo zakho whatever ukutshalile sokukhule kangakanani, ngoba sesiya manje after uHeru siya ngapha ke kulentuza ku-gap. U-gap i-principle ilo sithi umhlaba. That is the principle isikhathi of the big harvest ceremony. Siya harvesta ke ngolentuza February. Konke lokhu naseswazini uzothola ukuthi there's this ceremony yamagani. Amagani. A ceremony during February. Thola ukuthi wonke umuntu in the community praying to the king. Ula inkosi loma khona. Before the whole nation indulges. Then from kulentuza ku-gap, February, siya ku-March. U-March manje, sithi isililo sika nomkhubulwane. Because now the sun departs from the southern hemisphere. Angithi lisondele ngoSeptember. Manje, this is autumn period, March, especially on the 21st. Okay, itingwele uDecember. December is the month where the sun and earth are closest. Do you understand? So the sun pumps enough hydrogen on earth for earth to sustain itself until this period again. But now, on the 22nd, which is the day of the summer solstice, the sun begins its journey. It's closest to earth, but on that day it begins its journey now, moving towards the northern hemisphere. And that period is confirmed by the autumn equinox, which falls on the 21st of March. Uguti, now the sun departs officially. Yingakho senza lo mkhosi kaNomkhubulwane. Sikhalisa uNomkhubulwane ngoba ekhihla isililo, ngoba indoda yakhe umvelincane umlingani wakhe ushonile. Meaning ukuthi from the southern hemisphere side, the sun now departs. It's the official beginning of the winter. Right? Then that period kaNomkhubulwane kula kuhlukana khona inyama nomoya. Why? Because now the body is confined. Asenzi okwenyama manje. From March until ngolentuza September again, senza everything that has to do with the spirit. Right? Then mesifika ku April. inyanga controller Anpu. Anpu, you know, the jackal looking, you know, a principle in terms of, you know, the artwork. Anpu is the guardian, you know, a spirit. Uye okade umqaphikazi shokuthi mawushona welcome Anpu qala ayokuthula before uyohlangabezwa abakini. So uAnpu uyeke okumukisa kulesa skali skama art where your heart is going to be weighed against the feather. And also April yisikhathi sokufaka amathwasa ngoba uye who reveals and guides amathwasa through that process of enlightenment. Then from uAnpu sesingena kuSekhmet. uSekhmet uyeke ophethe zonke inyanga nokulapha. Zonke inyanga kumele ngalesikhathi sika May kube yibo ke manje ukuthi sesibonga ledlozi elisinikeza lekhono lokuthi silaphe abantu. And kula chokuthi umoya kaSekhmet ufiri, you know, it's a fiery energy, you know, whereby uyakhona ukuthi ulaphe izifo eziningi. Yingakho sithi zonke inyanga kumele zikhothame ziguqe zibonge kuSekhmet. Umkhosi wakhona sithi umkhosi kaImhotep ngoba uImhotep, he's the first doctor in the world. Kepha idoctor kanjani eyaqala inyanga, right? He was able to take and extract these active elements kulama herbs awase ulentuzake. Then from kuSekhmet sesiya kumanje kubani angithi kuMay siya kuJune kuSet. uSet umbhidlizi. You know, that is associated with the egos and everything. Isikhathana. Remember ukuthi uSet, you can't destroy uSet.
Yeah.
You need uSet because you wouldn't be able to walk without the spirit of opposition. Ukuze uye phambili, there's got to be an energy that opposes your motion. So uSet uyadingakala, but uSet mele umbeke kuphi endaweni yakhe. Yingakho amakhosi aqala ebephatha induku yobukhosi ibe nesign kaSet lapha phezulu. Ne fork of some sort lapha phansi, so that to remind you as inkosi ukuthi uSet is always with you, but uSet mele umbeke endaweni yakhe. Spiritually, what happens? It's the season where ulentuza evil or good conquers over evil. Asa lo ovalelwe or died umvelincane ngoMarch uyakhululeka ngoDecember. No, ngoJune, on the 21st of June. Meaning astronomically kwenzakalani? Ilanga or Earth and the Sun. The Sun is furthest from Earth, but on that day, on the 21st of June, it makes a return. It comes back now. It begins the journey of coming to the southern hemisphere again, right? Then you get, you know, that is the periodicity. It's the day of hope. Why? Because there's hope of life again. The sun is making a return. Ilento December in the northern hemisphere about Christmas. So our real Christmas Tina on the southern hemisphere, it's on the 21st of June. So ilanga elisemqoka kakhulu. So just to mention in here, these four cardinal points is the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the autumn equinox, then the winter solstice.
You know, I mean, I don't know a lot about horoscopes, but I have a bit of an understanding that a lot of astrology, cosmology was also an adaptation of African spirituality.
Yes.
And just listening from you, there's two astrologies that I can immediately pick up because I also know their signs. Like I'm thinking of the month of November, which is the month of where truth has to be revealed. The Scorpio, where it stings because the truth hurts. But it sets us free. I'm just thinking of symbolism because African spirituality is full of symbolism. When I look at the month of Set, because it's about understanding that there's ego, but good has to reign over evil. Two, you know, I'm a Gemini, so we are two. That's what must be my twins.
I'm also a Gemini.
Yeah, because we kind of like a dance between spirit. It's dance between spirit and ego.
Yes.
And it's the month of Set because it's about being aware of the other twin. Because we walk with both. Because ego is our flesh.
It's there.
Right?
Yes.
But we are also spirit.
Sure.
So do you see the symbols? Do you see when we speak about a lot of African spirituality, a lot of things in the world were informed by African spirituality? I'm hoping as you're sitting at home, you can connect your own dots and see actually how so much of our history and so much of our work has been infused in other belief systems and other philosophies as well. Because I do understand from what you're saying, Mkhulu, there's an architecture in how we do things. Because I also know that I'm not talking about Twasa as in those who have to become healers, but I'm speaking about initiation ceremonies for women and men, because in African spirituality, it was important, and I know in some cultures they stopped practicing it, like Zulu, because it was delaying war or something like that. But that around winter time, between May, I think around April, between April and May, people would go into initiation schools. And if you're looking at the whole, how Mkhulu explain things that would happen, I would assume that actually, because as June again is the month of ego, is that where you needed to be actually taught as a man not to only be a man because of your anatomy or your biology, but it was going to actually kill ego, because when you come of age and hormones rage, things do happen that makes you feel like munching in coons. But at initiation schools, I always say this, guys, it's not about cutting off foreskins. There's a lot that young, like we would be taught about what it means being a man, what it means being a woman. So there is an architecture sometimes to how things have been done. And if we can revisit some of the essences, and of course, things cannot be done the same old way because, you know, we live in different times. But if we can actually look at the essences of things, look at Mkhulu, because a lot of times we do unveilings or we do certain ceremonies in June.
Yes. Ihamba kanjalo vele. Ingakho ngithi wena gogo, le calendar that we used to use before colonialism came on our shores. Labelungu bafika ke basifaka kule nto yabo. So just going back ku calendar. Then kuza uJuly. uJuly sithi uNtulikazi ngesizulu, right? uJuly is ruled by uMaat. The purest form of Ubuntu. uMaat gathers everything ebhilizwe usaid. Uyayiqoqa, ayiqoqe kabusha. Right? uJuly lo. Then bese siza kuAugust. uAugust sithi uNcwaba. uNcwaba, it's this green thing that you see. You know, ngathi carpet. That is the beginning ye-symbolism ukuthi ilanga seliyasondela. So abesuthu ke baqala unyaka lapha. Right? Then kuba nomoya njengoba ngishilo eqaleni ohlengayo. Dust baningi yonke lento le. Hlengela bani? Umvelinqane. uAsa ozozalwa kabusha nini ngoSeptember ngoMandu. Right? So i-calendar yethu ihamba kanjalo. And there are, you know, these are principles, Z12, as the sun, or we go around the sun. Right? And lama principle adalwa yini proximity between earth and the sun. Uzothola ukuthi ilanga melisondelene nomhlaba, there's a certain principle. But as you know, ilanga moves away, you know, kunama degrees of difference. So yingakho kuba nama different principles. Why? Because the prevalence of energy differs as per the season, which is governed by the proximity of Earth and the Sun. Yes.
Sure. So Mkhulu, asibuye again, because we've got 4 seasons, we've got 12 months in the year that are governed by the 12 principles of creation. So what are some of the rituals that we need to be cognizant of? We only spoke about September, because I think also it's nice to see what we can apply practically where possible in these modern times. We understand now it's very important where people in September, it's time to declutter, it's time to let go of the old, it's time to welcome the new. Actually, before we get to that, Mkhulu, I think because it's not a coincidence that in the southern hemisphere, we are finding ourselves in the month of moving into spirit. Because when Corona lockdown was announced, we're going into the month of Anpu.
Yes.
Right?
No, it was the month of Oset.
Yeah, no, but we were going into, because it was the 21st, so we were right at the edge of Anpu, which is April.
Yes.
Oh, I'm proud of myself. I'm remembering this thing. Month of Anpu. And you saying good month of Anpu is cut so more.
Transformation. Yes.
It's about transformation.
Yes.
So can you see how actually this was a gift?
Yes.
It was telling us that it is time also as Africans to transform. Hence we're sitting at this time transforming, reshaping, redesigning our thinking and our way of being as Africans.
Oh no, certainly. Another thing which we missed out. The energy ka Oset, unomkhubulwane. In March.
In March, yes.
It carries the potential of killing all viruses in our system. You know, scientifically proven by okhokho bethu ukuthi ngalesikhathi we shouldn't panic. All we have to do is to raise our vibrational frequency so that ingene kule frequency ka Oset at the time, so that we are able to get rid of all these toxins. When everybody was panicking about this thing, Tina besishaya isigubhu la sicela ko Oset sithi Oset nomkhubulwane. Hey, ngoba sazi ukuthi by doing that you are raising your vibrational frequency so that you link and tune in into the frequency ka Oset, and there's no virus that you will survive there. I'm not saying that is a cure. I'm saying that is what we did. We raised our vibrational frequency at the time.
And people need to be aware that we are living in a pandemic, and Corona is there. There's people who've died. So we're not disputing the biomedical effects that are associated with that. But as Africans, we also understand we don't just look at the biomedical, we look at the spiritual. Because we understand that everything is sehlakalo. When something comes that shakes us and that is asking us to break a collective virus, a virus that has been eating away at our health system overall. And for me, like we were raising the vibration, Mkhulu, because we were going into the month of spirit, the month of transformation when we went into lockdown. So it is a gift in some way because something has to change. There's a virus called colonization.
Yebo.
There's a virus called poverty.
Yes.
There's a virus called white supremacy. There's a virus called racism. There's a virus called sexism. There's a virus called homophobic, xenophobic. There's a lot of isms and schisms that have been our virus, because I say with quarantine and lockdown, it is saying to us there's been a global pandemic that we've ignored for so long that has made the world be off balance, because the world as we've known it before this lockdown or this quarantine time or before Corona only served a few. It served a minority globally. So those old systems have to die. And we in the southern hemisphere entered it. Actually, we entered into this as we are entering into the month of transformation. There's a healer, I forgot, she tweeted something to say, I have a feeling or I can see that Southern Africa will come with the solution. And maybe because this is the cradle of humankind, maybe this is where we're going to come up with the solution for many things around systems that have been viruses, systems that have been eating away at the health of the human race. I always say to people, this is not about it's not really looking at white people, but it's looking at the system which was created by white people historically that served a minority, and it's to say that how do we, as those who have been wounded by the systems at play, do we heal ourselves from those viruses? And by healing yourself from a virus, you are not then making people be bad. If you feel bad, you are taking on stuff, and I felt bad for being black for the longest of time. I felt ugly for my nose, I felt ugly for my hair. So excuse you if you think you're the only one who's now feeling guilty. We've all carried guilt, but as we transform, because I think it's also because there has been in Mkhulu white people, honestly, who have said these systems are oppressive. There have been people who've said those things, but we cannot always want to be accommodating people who also reflect an image of the Wunda. I say to people, because for me it's like this. Let's take something that speaks to everybody else. Let's take rape. If I have been raped by you, my first point of intervention is not to have a conversation with you. My first point of interaction is to work and heal myself. So that when I'm able to hold you to accountability, I know my positioning.
Yes.
Because being in the same room with you as my perpetrator, you'll trigger me into a place and a position of being powerless. That's a metaphor, guys. I'm using that analogy because we need to understand, Mkhulu, and let's speak of this truth until even we as ones who have been perpetrated and wounded can get it in our system and stop apologizing for having these conversations.
No, kunjalo Gogo, what we normally would say Latina is going ukuthi isikhathi sabazali to have a talk, an honest talk. Ingane sizozibona mesiqeda ukuyilungisa thina singabazali. Once we are sorted, ingane zethu leza. We want to hate them or whatever. You know, amahlongandlebe kwamanje. Kepha inkinga angithi ukuthi wayikhanda melibheda umzimba wonke uyabheda. So it's time for parents to sit down and resolve parental issues. Then from lapho bese siyahamba ke silanda ingane ukuthi na umthetho kumele. Look, God, the reason we find ourselves in this position because we have left all the wisdom that our ancestors had. Like the wisdom of the stars. You know, there are certain planets that when they come closer to Earth, after maybe, 100 years or 60 years, something happens here on Earth. And no Kokobetu knew. Even le makaya, kono Gogo bangakutshela ukuthi, hey, nayi lenkanyezi. Lenkanyezi le yabonakala 50 years ago. And yathi mayibonakala lenkanyezi. This is what happened on Earth. Do you understand, Gogo? Because everything is cyclical. From this point it comes back to that point. So for us to ignore astronomy and astrology is to our detriment because siyamangala all the time. Kanti abokhokho bethu bebazi basekhona namanje abantu abadala who are experts in the stars, who can actually tell you ukuthi namhlanje kuzona noma ngeke kune, because they look at the sky. They are able to predict izinto. Akubani Nostradamus. He wasn't smart. He only studied the stars and the evolution of these stars and their cycles. Uguti, no. Every time this star is here, this is what happens on Earth. So he don't conditioning. So manje, we are always reacting instead of being proactive. Stars, it's like mesazi ukuthi kuzoba nosomiso. Isomiso senziwa yini? Yiwo lama planets lanka azungeza around Earth. Some of them, when they are closer or away from Earth, this is what happens. So we are able to predict ukuthi no, leyankanyezi naya izobe ila by this time. So let's prepare. Maybe we store food, maybe we do this. in preparation for that, thing to happen. So izinto zisithola ukuthi we are not ready, we are not prepared. Why? Because consciously, asisekho lapho, we are no longer following the wisdom of our ancestors.
And that's why Mkhulu, there's healers, because the role of healers is the people who listen and pay attention to the wisdom of ancestors. Because I also believe that in the healing practice, there's multiple gifts that resides. There's those who are gifted in clearly understanding certain spiritual languages, and studying the stars is a spiritual language.
Sure.
And I think it's time for us, and you've thrown a provocation for me, is to say, as one who works with healers, how can we start to pay attention to unique gifts and not actually to be dismissive of them because they don't fit a category of what we currently know? Because even Ubungoma has a lot of colonial construct.
Oh no, certainly.
There's a lot of colonial construct that comes with it. And that's why Mkhulu Umuntu, when Sibahleka saw, would not understand. Gogo, why are you looking so good? Because it's Zangoma. And I'd say, if you understand they speak of the Royal Highness. So in how you carry yourself has to exude that aura, because Mebabona is Angoma as those things. I was watching and for me, I mean, there's a lot of course criticism around this movie Shaka Zulu, but if you look at things spiritually, you'll see so much that maybe they were not even intending to teach through that movie, but you'll understand it. And one of the things in that movie, when Usenza Kona Wagachama said, don't tell me, because Shaga's birth was being prophesied because of how he was conceived and the month in which he was conceived in. Pay attention, we're talking about calendar. The month he was conceived in was a month of it's not a month where you are allowed to have, because sex was preserved for marriage. But then Ubaba had a moment of pleasure, and Unandi did say, I don't just want pleasure, I want something more. And how was conceived was that, but go watch the movie. But what I want to bring here, Mkhulu, so then he says, don't tell me about the prophecy. Because the advisor to the king says to him, like the prophecy said, this is starting to happen. And said, don't tell me about the witch doctor's magic. And he said, as king, without their magic, you can't be king.
Oh no, certainly.
And I'm understanding, Guti, because our job as healers is to understand the language of spirit in its multifaceted and complex and dynamic form. That's why we cannot be competing as Africans. Because it means in the spirit we are all gifted different gifts. Sure. We are all, somebody's gifted to understand. I'm not going to be here and want to be an expert of the month. But it's important for me to understand them. So if I'm working with somebody who's gifted in a peculiar gift, I can actually say this does exist. Because sometimes in Mkhulu, we are dismissive of things as Africans. We'll be dismissive of this because we don't know it. Just because you don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't, because you don't believe in this doesn't mean it's not true. That's been my principle. I might not believe in it, but doesn't mean it's not true. So what Mkhulu is sharing, just because you don't have a belief system in it, doesn't mean it's not truth, because truth is what we've experienced. And this is something that we're experiencing. So I'm saying, listen to this information. Yes, have your own discernment. But say, where is the truth in this in correlation to what we are living? These things that we are living in, like even we just gave an example, So Mkhulu, let's conclude this conversation and go to this month, this period that we're in. Because we are in May, we're in May, we're going into June.
Yes, we'll be finishing the cycle of Antu.
Yes.
Finishes on the 23rd. We start, Sekhmet. The Sekhmet, the Nes.
Yes, and it's the Inyanga. And
principle,
and that's when most people also sometimes would also say it's like where people would do actual initiation ceremonies in June, because they would say you initiate in winter.
Yes, but Ngomei, because that cycle meaning automatically, whether we like it or not, the energy is there. That supports, the beginning.
Yes.
Then Gogo, just before Sival, just leave the calendar. You remember last week I spoke about Tumbilin.
Yes.
Umbilini, if you...
Kundalini energy, for those who might not know.
Yeah. Kundalini energy.
Kundalini energy.
If you remember, Kuti, the sign of health, Manu, it was like a stick with two snakes going to the top.
Yes.
That is a Kadusha or something of Jehuti, the sign of... That is health. Meaning, Kuti, the great... So you need to learn ukuthi the energy uyipushe every day, even before yolala or noma uhamba. Try ukuthi unyuse the energy, because the energy menu is connected to amachakra. These body points which are connected to amalunga omzimba wethu, all the organs. So maunyusa, you know, umbilini maunyuga is the greatest healer, because he hits your corner, heals anything in your system. So abelungu ngeke bakufundise konke lokho ngoba kumele ugule so that uyongena esibhedlela. So this is the ancient old wisdom. Okhokho bethu knew. But Credo spoke about these things. Nobody took him serious. But if you look at it, the oldest symbol of health is those, two snakes that combine at the top, which is a representative of what happens in your spinal cord. When this energy goes up, it goes and meets zihlangana lapha ku-pineal gland, and the pineal gland ilambu lakho. This is what gives you enlightenment. Makutiwa, you are enlightened. You are the son of or daughter of light. It means ukuthi your pineal gland is open. It means your vibrational frequency, say vibrator at a very high frequency.
To add on that, guys, when we speak of chakras, people have said, Gogo, talk of chakras, and Mkhulu is inspiring me. We are talking about 7 energy centers in the body. Because if they are not in alignment, then it creates disease, which is something that is not at ease in the body. Because Africans understood health from a metaphysical, we always go back to spirit. Because there are 7, there's a lot, and we're not going to do teaching. But I'll say, for example, if your heart chakra, where you have unforgiveness, where you've got resentment, where you've got pain, and where you've got hurt, Mkhulu, it's not healed, then it creates diseases such as sugar, diabetes, because, and this is not type 1, it's type 2 as well. Because type 2 is lifestyle, because there's a lack of joy, a lack of sweetness, a lack of all those things. So if you have it, you replace it with food, because we also understand food to be medicine, but the kind of food we are eating right now is processed food, synthetic food to replace that. That's why people have food addictions, because instead of dealing with the stuff that is eating away at you, you are actually feeding that with toxicity in terms of food. I hope that you are getting those things, because we also understand when we speak about Kundalini, it starts from here, which is connected to your root. Your root is connected to sexuality. So a lot of people have experienced sexual trauma, abuse, and things like that. It disturbs their whole core, their essence, because when violence happens, you start to question your worthiness, you start to question your essence, because it takes away a sense of identity. We will have a whole stream on those things, but we are trying to help you now connect the dots, because in African spirituality, we can say we want to speak about the calendar, but we understand that the calendar is connected to so many things. We are the original systems thinkers. We're the original Albert Einsteins, because systems thinking is saying everything is interconnected, whereas mechanical or Isaac Newton's thinking is basically about mechanics. It's about I take the battery and I put the battery back and the car starts. But Albert Einstein's thinking, which is systemic thinking, it says, no, hold on, it doesn't really start. It might start, but it will affect the indicators, it will affect the clock, because everything might have to be reset. That system, and it's saying that human beings, So when we're looking at the health of our system, we understand that we are systemic thing. Everything is interconnected. Upugumuno, our function, you can't even cook, but it's not the hand that's broken. You have a headache, you can't clean, you can't do anything. It makes you malfunctional. So that's why when we're looking at diseases, we look at the root, not the symptom. Because if you petro a yes, right? It might help ease the headache, but I need to say that medicine might help ease the headache, but what is the cause of the headache?
Just to add on what you've just said, the reason why we normally say Western education is limited, because it only focuses on what has manifested. Or Kokobe took a comprehensive picture. They focus more on the cause. For an apple to be, what are the principles involved? What energies? So they studied that. So that then gives them a connection. If there's a problem on the everything that has manifested, they trace it right there. Then they unlock here. When you unlock here in the spirit, the physical gets healed.
No, and I'll give you an example. I have a problem with my right leg. And one partly because and I use the leg very strongly. But I also recognize that actually I have an issue with my paternal side of the family. So the leg is about action, it's about movement. So some of you might have issues because you haven't dealt with your father's issues. So your ability to move forward gets affected, then you get disability with moving, the leg shows up. But also because, Mkhulu, I'm giving this because I'm trying to make you make sense of these things. Because I was sexually abused, so I had to be very masculine to protect myself. So in essence, there's certain things that have happened that has made me to adapt a certain and strengthen a particular muscle. So when I went for its protector. The natural is behind enabling creator to manifest. So what I understood when he said you're small, because this is the dominant muscle, because we understand masculine is creator energy, right? And then when Belinani, the creator, Nomkubulani is natural and reflector of creation.
Sure.
So it's those things. So as we speak about those things, understand, because another conversation I'm gonna have, I want to understand spiritual causes of disease. Because a lot of us, when you say Mkhulu, we can heal ourselves. It's because a lot of things are things that we have eaten as food, eaten as thoughts, eaten as pains, eaten as traumas. And uzohamba ungene kule nyango uphume uyela uthi bakuthakathile. Kanti wena fanele uyoxolela ubabakho, fanele uyoxolela umamakho. There's a lot of things that are happening to us because we are a wounded nation and we are continuously wounding each other. And certain things as a dingy biza, certain things as a dingy in, zidinga to go izolo with Ulrato Velas spoke about working with the spirit. Understand what has made you toxic, that has actually put you out of alignment that you are experiencing disease. We can say a lot, Mkhulu, in closing, because I also have to head, guys, before the curfew.
Yes, Gogo Dineo, all I pray for, ukuthi abantu bavule indlebe yomoya. Lento siyishoyo, I'm sure ikhuluma nomoya wabo. Ngoba umoya wabo umdala kunomzimba wabo. Fana nengane, ingane ingakho ephehleni siyikhothamele ingane ngoba umoya ongaphakathi mdala. So let your spirit talk. Ungawuvali because of what you know, what you've been socialized, to do or to know. But vumela umoya, indlebe yomoya, uvule neso likamoya ukuze ukhone ukuphila.
So guys, it's been incredible part 2 of this conversation. Thank you so much. Catch this. We're gonna upload it now. And what's up mutual mulo ya garapi fela ka o mutho wa dia di perpetualization ra ba ka mutho wa o ra senya ke dilo tse di tswelela pele mara go neta ba gape tse di so tse gore re bolele ka polelo tsa gore rena gore re botse gore le bo bagekolo le bakgala